Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Get Wedding Ready with me, Wura Manola. Today I've got a very interesting video for you. Today I have gone around Google and gone around my inbox and also gone around different wedding articles to find the most searched questions by brides of all time. I decided to answer them right here on my channel. I get asked loads of questions every day regarding weddings. So I thought, you know what, why don't I compile all these questions in a video so that anyone who's looking to get married one day, anyone who's planning a wedding, can actually get access to these answers. So I'm going to cover everything from how much does a wedding cost, who pays for a wedding, how do you save for a wedding, and the list goes on. I'm going to give you all the information you need by answering these questions, and you then do your own homework because obviously everyone's situation is different. I'm just going to answer a couple of questions from my phone. So the first question is, how much does a wedding cost? This is the most searched question on Google. I feel like a lot of people want to know how much a wedding costs. It's very hard to answer this question because weddings vary in cost depending on where you are in the world, what country you are, even down to the city, wherever city you are. You find that in different countries, some cities are more expensive than the other. Also, it depends on you. What kind of wedding do you want to have? You might Google and Google might actually tell you your wedding costs this amount of money, whereas you just want a simple, small, intimate wedding and your wedding might not cost that much. So what I'm going to do by answering this question is give you the average wedding cost in 3 different countries. So the average wedding cost in the UK is £27,000 and in London it has risen to £38,000. The average wedding cost in the United States is $37,000 and this rises depending on cities to about $50,000 to $60,000. The average wedding cost in Nigeria is 2 to 3 million naira, and obviously in places like Lagos, Port Harcourt and Abuja would probably skyrocket to the tens of millions of naira. Now, again, as I said earlier on, this question depends on you. If you're going to have a very lavish wedding with fresh flowers down to the aisle everywhere, with designer dresses, everything designer, Beyonce come to perform at your wedding is going to go into the billions of dollars. And I just wanted to say as well, weddings can cost anything from tens of thousands all the way to millions. There are people who spend millions on weddings. It just depends on how much you can spend. That's the easiest way to answer this question. So I hope I've answered that question. So next question is, who pays for the wedding? This is another popular question that gets asked. And again, this is another difficult question because it depends. Traditionally, the parents have paid for weddings as a gift to their kids, whereas now we see that obviously the younger generation are working and are making money and decide to pay for their wedding themselves. And also, when you go down to tradition, depending on where you're from, for example, I'm Yoruba, and the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria, the bride's family pays for predominantly of the wedding. Some other tribes, the groom's family pays, and some other tribes, they just mix and match. Some people pay for the hall, some people pay for cake or whatever. So it just depends on traditionally, what is your tradition? You need to find that out from your parents, from where you are, ask around, like, what is our tradition? And also, this also depends on you as a couple. Do you have enough money financially to pay for your wedding? And let me just say that if your parents want to pay for your wedding as a gift, please, do not say no. Let them pay for your wedding. That is the best gift you can give someone apart from a house. Who pays for the wedding depends on tradition, depends on, the parents, depends on the couple. There's no, set stone. I'll say when it gets to tradition, there are obviously set rules and you need to find out from your tradition who pays for what. So the next question is, how do I save for a wedding? This question I get asked a lot. A lot of people have probably Googled and seen how much wedding costs, and they've actually taken a step back thinking, wow, it's actually a lot of money. And they start to think, oh, okay, you know what, how can I save? The first thing I want to say is you need to take a step back and think about your life after the wedding before you start to think about how to save for a wedding. A wedding is good, it's beautiful, it's one of the most important days of your life and you will never forget it, but it's one day and the rest of your life continues. So before you start thinking of saving thousands of dollars or pounds on your wedding, think about things like, do you have a house? You know, what schools are your children going to go to? Do you have a plan for the other things in your life after marriage as well as your wedding? If you do, then by all means start saving. Whereas if you're going to save all the way for your wedding and start from zero, I would advise you to revisit that, because obviously there's life after the wedding. So one of the first tips I can give you on, you know, saving for a wedding is opening a separate joint account where you and your partner put money aside every month, and that way you don't see the money, it's not in your account, and you're both monitoring it. Every month is building up. Another way for you to save for your wedding is accepting gifts and cash from family members. Obviously spread the word that you're getting married, and traditional wise in Nigeria, people tend to, you know, give you money for certain things or pay for certain things. So that's one way which you can save for your wedding. Another way you can save for your wedding is to watch my wedding hacks video. I give you 10 tips on how to save costs, like up to $7,000, $10,000 on your wedding. Also, another way to save for your wedding is to start looking for bargains and deals ahead of time, rather than waiting till the wedding period, because obviously anything you buy that's in season is going to be more expensive than anything you buy that is obviously, you know, off season. Lastly, another thing I would advise, if you do have money for this and if you're really serious about, you know, finances and life after the wedding, is to get a financial advisor, someone that can actually give you advice, you know, on how to start saving for not just your wedding but for a house and for life after your wedding. So those are the quick tips I can give you on how to save for your wedding. So the next question we have is, this question is, I have a low income, how can I have a great wedding? So I get a couple of questions like this. Some people actually tell me their salary. They say, for example, Wura, I get XYZ per month, it's not a lot, but we want to get married, you know, how can I have a grand wedding? And I say the same thing all the time. If you're not bringing in a certain amount of money, for example, let me use pounds. If collectively you and your husband are not bringing up to, like, you know, maybe like 5,000 or 4,000 pounds after tax, if you're bringing maybe like 3,000 or 2,500 pounds after tax, I would advise you to revisit the kind of wedding you'd want to have. The advice I always give people with low incomes that want to have a really good wedding is think about what's important and cut your coat according to your cloth. It's so hard to say cloth because I always say size, and I got called out for that on one of my videos. But I don't care, I'm going to say size. Cut your coat according to your cloth size, whatever you say out there. I would say that if you want to have a grand wedding but you're on a low income, you know, think about how you can make your wedding grand, you know, without breaking your bank and breaking yourselves completely. For example, can you have a beautiful, nice, elegant dress, go for a court wedding and have a nice dinner with your family and friends with drinks, wine, and just have some nice entertainment, you know, and exchange gifts and everything? Or can you have a very small wedding with maybe like 70 people in a garden? Not everyone has to have a grand wedding. These people that are doing these grand weddings have money, and if they don't have money, they have a plan on how they are going to survive. So it's either that their family members have gotten them a house already, or someone has gotten them a car. You have to think wisely, cut your coat according to your size, and go for a small reception with a few family and friends. And when you have enough money, do it big, do it large, you know, fly people out and, you know, have the wedding on your dreams. A couple of people do that. When they renew their vows, they go big. So I hope I've answered that question. The next question is, do we go for a honeymoon now or do we go when we can afford it? Just go. Oh my gosh, the stress and everything that comes with wedding planning, I would recommend you to go for your honeymoon after your wedding. It's so important because you rest, you recharge yourself, and you come back. Like, I don't understand how people get married and on Monday they're back to work. Like, I don't know. I feel like you have to kind of go away for a while and just, you know, have some time with your husband, your new wife, and then come back to reality. But what I will say is, if you can't afford a grand wedding to maybe Mauritius or Maldives or Bora Bora or somewhere really, really, you know, lavish and, you know, luxurious, I would say find somewhere local. For example, if you live in South Africa, maybe live in Johannesburg, try going to Cape Town. And obviously, if you go next door to Mauritius, if you're in Nigeria, maybe even go to Ghana, go to a resort in Ghana, somewhere along the beach. It is beautiful. Or take a time away and just go to a beach house for a weekend or something. If you live anywhere in Europe, Europe is so cheap to travel around. Just pick a city and just go with your new husband or wife. But yes, I'll 100% recommend fork out little cash and do something really small, but make it memorable. And then when you do have the money, you can go somewhere really, really lavish, really, really luxurious. Even if it's stripping back some costs, like If you don't need a very expensive tiara or something, strip back that cost and add it to your honeymoon. That's what I did for my wedding. I was looking at a couple of things and I was stripping out costs and adding it towards my honeymoon because I wanted my honeymoon to slay, and the honeymoon was like, oh, beautiful. We went to Dubai and Maldives and it was out of this world. So I will recommend that you definitely do go for your honeymoon. The next question is, how much does a wedding dress cost? So this is one of the most popular questions as well that gets asked. Now, it's the same question with how much does a wedding cost. A wedding dress can start from anything from the hundreds of pounds and tens of thousands of naira and hundreds of dollars, all the way to even the millions. Wedding dresses depend on who's making the dress, what has been used to make the dress, where the dress is being made. All these factors make a dress expensive. So it just depends on what kind of dress you want and what kind of person you are. If you want your dress to speak volumes on your wedding day, then it's going to be a bit expensive. Whereas if you're very simple, you just in a white, nice gown that is very simple, nothing dramatic, then it probably won't be as expensive. I would say if you're planning to save money on your wedding dress, I would stay away from the big designers. Get your dress maybe rented or watch my video on wedding hacks. I have tips on wedding dresses as well. Well, yes, wedding dresses could be anything from hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars. The next question is, where should I spend more money? Where should I compromise? So this question now comes down to you. What is important for you? I'll take me as an example. When I was getting married, my guests were very important to me. I neglected kind of like my look, so I wasn't really over the top with like my wedding dress, my wedding look. I know that's crazy to say because I'm a bride, but because I'm a wedding planner, my guest, my reception was the most important. So I put all my effort and I put predominantly all my money into the reception, and it did pay off because after my wedding, like all the guests kept coming over to me. Like anyone I saw after the wedding was like, wow, your wedding is amazing. So I would say it depends on you. There's some things that are obvious, like invest in like photographers. Obviously, if you want, that memorable pictures to look really nice and professional. Invest in your makeup, your hair, all of that. If you can't do it yourself, if you can do it yourself, by all means do that. You don't really have to invest in decor if you're a very crafty person and you can do DIY by yourself. So I would say it just depends on you. What do you have? Like, what can you do by yourself? What can you get cheaper? And what can you fork out the money for? Venue, by all means, some people have their receptions even in their backyard, so you don't have to. But I would say obviously if you want a really, really nice wedding, go for a really nice venue. So then it just depends, it's up to you. I would say obviously food is important. You don't want your guests to come all the way from where they're coming from, and one, there's not enough food, two, the food is horrible. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, nah. So I would say food is something that you should kind of invest in. So the next question is, do bridesmaids pay for their dresses and how much? I get asked this question a lot of time, and I feel like this question can cause wahala. This question can cause, even me as I'm recording this question, I'm being very careful so you guys don't come for me. Please don't come for me. This is just my own opinion. With bridesmaids dresses, back in the day, when people had weddings, and before weddings go out of control, when bridesmaids dresses were still affordable, you didn't have all these designers making the dresses, the bride used to get the bridesmaids dresses. But now that everyone wants to slay their whole entire existence, it's becoming expensive. Brides cannot afford to pay for bridesmaids dresses, It's very hard for a bride to, fork out a couple of thousands of naira or like, almost 150 pounds for one dress. If she now has 10 bridesmaids, that's 1,500 pounds for bridesmaids dresses. So I would say like bridesmaids, if you're kind of bridesmaids where you all want to slay, expect to get your dress yourself. Go in expecting to pay for as much as you can. And I feel like brides out there, be reasonable. Don't allow people to spend all their savings on your wedding. It's not fair. So yes, I would say this is an open conversation between the bride and the bridesmaids. So yeah. So the next question is, what should the bridal party be paying for? There's no right or wrong. Back in the day, the bride used to pay for everything, but now because everyone is trying to overslay, it's a lot more expensive and the bride can cover all those slay costs. So you find bridesmaids paying for the dress, their makeup, their hair, and everything that comes to the wedding, their accommodation. I would say anything that you're wearing as a bridesmaid, if you're being asked to pay for that, I don't think that's entirely bad. If it's very expensive, then obviously it's like, you know, speak to the bride about it. I do not expect everyone to have Louboutins and wear Louboutins or Jimmy Choos. So if a bride has asked you that you have to wear Louboutins at her wedding, just say, you know, can I find another bridesmaid because I'm about to bounce. You know, there are some brides that have some silly requests, and you know, it doesn't make any sense. So I would say anything that you're wearing that you're going to use, your hair, your makeup, your you know, your dress and everything, if you're being asked to pay for that and it's reasonably priced and the bride has shown concern and even offered to help, so I would say yes, it's okay for the bridesmaid to pay for that, because obviously the bride has a lot of costs. You know, she's spending money on, because I've been a bride and I know how much cost I had for my wedding. It wasn't possible for me to pay for my bridesmaid dresses because I had 9 bridesmaids, 9 times the amount of dresses. So if you're expecting the bride to pay for everything, remember, she's not just paying for you, she's paying for all the bridesmaids. She's going to end up going into the thousands. So I would say, with who pays for what with bridal party, have an honest conversation with your bride and make sure that whatever she's putting forward you can afford. And if you can't, you know, try and see if she can cover the shortfall. Because at the end of the day, it's a two-way thing. You want to be her bridesmaid and she wants you to be her bridesmaid. So no one is doing anyone in. I mean, you're doing her a favor, but yeah, you're doing her a favor. Alright? As a bride as well, you can pay for shortfalls. For example, if your bridesmaid can't afford the dress you want, ask them, okay, you know what, can you guys bring 70 or 80% and I'll pay the rest. So the next question is, how do I ask for money as gifts at my wedding? So back in the day, it used to be so difficult to do that because people used to bring fridge for you, microwave, all these things, you know, and you find out that a lot of these gifts, you don't use them. Some people have a lot of chinaware just tucked away that they don't use. So people then started to ask for money instead. If you want to ask for money as a gift, try and have like a link. For our wedding, we had a link. I wouldn't say the link because the company was a startup company and I think the company has folded, but obviously we got all our money back. So I would say maybe use an app, use a website, use a link, use something legit so it doesn't really ask like you're asking for money. And the way we did it as well, like we had different occasions, like we had honeymoon, we had maybe kitchenware, so we had like different things on our website and we just told people to donate towards those different things. And I feel like that's actually nice because you can actually see what the couple actually wants, and you're donating towards that, and then people can even write nice messages like, you know, I hope you enjoy this chinaware, I hope you enjoy your honeymoons. So guys, we've come to the end of this. There are no more questions. I think I've answered everything here. Oh, there's one more question. Should I take a loan for my wedding or should I just bleed my account dry and start from zero? Neither. Now, this question is very important and I feel like people need to listen for this very important question. This question I feel like people shy away from this question, number one, and people don't have enough guidance to this question. Don't take out a loan for your wedding if you don't have proper advice, if you don't know how you're going to pay back. I would say don't take out a loan. For example, if you have a salary coming in, business coming in, and you just need a loan to cover maybe the hall or something, you can take the loan, you know, and you know how you're going to pay for it, you know, little by little. I feel like that's okay. Whereas if you're going to take a whole loan, like $30,000 just for your wedding, I would say that is not, because like there's life after the wedding. You don't want to have this amazing lavish wedding and you guys are just looking at each other in the house, fighting all the time because obviously there's no money, there's nothing, you can't do anything. I've heard of people who've had amazing lavish weddings and they'll come and stay in like a one room in an apartment, you know, all their belongings, and just be suffering. Why? You guys, I say this in all my videos, people that come for a wedding to eat, drink and dance are not going to come home with you. They're not going to know you're suffering, boo-boo. They're not going to know that you can't pay your bills. They're not going to know. And let me tell you something, these people that come to your wedding, and if they find out that you're suffering after the wedding, they're not going to give you money. They're probably going to laugh at you and ask you, why did you have wedding of life? So I would say, honestly, be very cautious with, you know, taking out loans for your wedding. Only take out a loan for your wedding if you know how you're going to pay it back and you have a plan. Do not take out a loan, a whole sum for your wedding. And if you can, don't take a loan for your wedding. So guys, yeah, we've come to the end of this video. I'm going to have another 2-part series because I have other questions like, what should I do if my mother-in-law is not letting me get my points across? What should I do if my parents won't let me, you know, have my wedding and they're just making decisions? Oh my god, I have different questions. So guys, can you send as many questions as you can, and I'll do my best to answer them in the next series. So I hope you enjoyed this wedding Q&A. Don't forget to like, please like this video. Don't forget to subscribe. Please subscribe to me. So thank you guys so much. And yeah, see you in my next video. Bye.